Are you shopping for an omega-3 supplement, but having trouble finding answers to some of your basic questions? This video is for you. Howdy friends, Tyler here at Healthway Nutrition Center, and today we're excited to talk to you about omega-3 supplements. In this video, we'll be helping those who have already decided that they want to purchase an omega-3 supplement be more informed and empowered to make a confident choice that the end product they choose is a good match for their health needs. We'll be doing so by sharing some of the most common questions we hear on our own supplement aisles and reviewing those answers with you. We're grateful to have you here with us for this video, so thanks so much for joining, and thank you for your own interest in your personal health. Let's jump right into it with our first question: how do we read the supplement label? When looking at any supplement label, it can be easily confusing with all the information that's often displayed. So the first thing we want to do with our omega-3 supplement, flip that bottle around and look at the supplement facts panel. We're quickly going to identify EPA and DHA as our key ingredients that we're looking for, and we're going to note the milligrams of each of those ingredients. We're also going to look in that top left corner of the supplement facts panel to note the serving size. This is an important detail to understand what size of a serving, or usually how many pills you need to take to reach those numbers of EPA and DHA we've just noted. Generally speaking, here in the supplement industry, we often note EPA and DHA content by combining the two values, and that gives us a rough sense of how strong our product is or is not. Speaking of strength, our second question: are all products the same strength? Well, yes, but definitely not. So what we mean here is, yes, your most common omega-3 supplement, a standard strength fish oil, they are all roughly the same strength, even from different manufacturers. And while this may sound a little odd, there's a pretty straightforward explanation. Most of these manufacturers are using the same species of fish as their source for omega-3s. Most of them are using the same purification methods to create their products, and most of them are using the same size soft gel to put that end product in. This means it's no surprise that we get roughly similar numbers from your standard strength fish oil product. So when you're looking at your standard strength fish oil product, it's usually going to be in a 1,000 milligram soft gel, and within that 1,000 milligram soft gel, we're going to see about 300 milligrams, maybe as low as 200, of EPA and DHA combined. This is, again, standard strength fish oil and is exceptionally common. Most products will recommend you take 2 soft gels, so that 500 to 600 milligram range of combined EPA and DHA is what we think of when we think of a standard strength fish oil product. Now, we said definitely not, so what do we mean there? While there are standard strength products, and they are perhaps the most popular, there are also concentrated fish oil products as well as omega-3 products from non-fish sources. All of these can have varying potencies, but the important thing is that you know how to read the label. So regardless of which product you have, note the EPA and DHA content, note the serving size, and you can move forward confidently from there. We will acknowledge that the concentrated fish oil products are often highly desirable for those who either require higher amounts of EPA and DHA for their health needs, or just for those who like taking less pills. In many instances, instead of taking 2 regular strength fish oil pills, you can get a higher strength option and just take 1 pill to reduce your total pill count per day. Moving on to our next question, and one that we've heard countless times here in the store. A customer comes in directly from their physician where either physician was a little brief in their instruction, or maybe the customer is having trouble recalling all the details, but they remember that their doctor told them to take 2 grams of some sort of omega-3 supplement. Now, there's a couple areas of confusion happening here potentially. One, let's address the gram reference, because much of our comments and much of the labels you'll see are in milligrams. So for those less familiar with the metric system, we'll quickly get out of the way that 1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram. So a physician recommending you take 2 grams is referring to 2,000 milligrams. However, our second source of confusion here is there's a lack of information. And ultimately, we're likely going to need to check in with that physician to get clarification on whether they meant 2,000 milligrams of fish oil. So that could be 2 soft gels of standard strength fish oil, which provides about 500 to 600 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA. Or was that physician referring to 2,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA? These are 2 very different values, with one being over triple the potency of the other. So while we can make some assumptions in that lower strength products are usually recommended for more maintenance or just general health support, whereas high strength, like 2 full grams or 2,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA, is usually reserved for clinical dosing where we're trying to address an ongoing health issue, high triglyceride levels being a common example. So while we can kind of maybe gather if the physician was bringing up in a certain context what they meant, let's not make assumptions. Let's check back in with that physician and clarify. Doctor, did you mean 2,000 milligrams of fish oil or other omega-3 supplements? Or did you mean 2,000 milligrams of actual EPA and DHA, because they're 2 very different values? Moving on to our next question. For those of us who aren't working directly with a physician or haven't received a specific guidance, how much omega-3s, EPA and DHA specifically, do we actually need per day, and should we be focusing on taking? This is a question that has been addressed by multiple health agencies globally, and because of that, we've settled on some pretty clear-cut ranges here. Most health agencies will tell you between 250 and 500 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA is that minimum daily amount that most Americans or those in the Western world would do well to consider. We view this as the minimum to guard against deficiency, which is the most important aspect of omega-3s because they are an essential fatty acid. This is an essential nutrient, just like calcium, just like vitamin C. You have to have EPA and DHA. So let's make sure we guard against the worst potential health effects of not having it by reaching that minimum level of about 250 to 500 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA. Now, with all things, we usually see kind of that minimum to guard against deficiency, and then there's often the second number that is viewed as the optimal range, which provides broader health benefits. Omega-3s are no exception, and it looks like around 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA is what most of the research is saying. This research is largely based on something known as the omega-3 index, where we look at how much of your fatty acids are actually EPA and DHA, and it turns out that there's a certain threshold where we see dramatic reduction in disease risk, such as up to 30% reduced risk for specific cardiovascular markers for those who have higher levels of EPA and DHA. So large-scale observational studies have suggested that around 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA might be that optimal range for the average individual. Dosages beyond those are used, but again, typically reserved for clinical dosaging, and it's usually once we get into that clinical dosaging of 2,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA that we're also going to start to see potential side effect risk. These risks are usually viewed as quite minor and not a major concern, but obviously everyone is different, and for those of us just trying to support general health, there's typically no need to achieve such a high dose that we bring in side effects. So let's reserve those higher doses when working for a physician, with a physician, or at least have a good reason to consider such a high dose. Now, our final question gets into a very popular subject for debate, and that is different sources of omega-3s. Does the type of fish matter? Does it matter if I'm doing the more common sardine and mackerel sourced omega-3 supplement versus salmon versus cod liver oil? Or does it matter if I'm using krill or algae-based oil? We're going to spoil the fun on this one a little bit and say, no, it doesn't matter. Or rather, there's 2 key factors that do matter more than any of those other factors, and that is the overall quality of the products. Generally speaking, at minimum, we want to see a true quality manufacturer that has transparency in their quality control practices, that has third-party verification to back up those quality control practice claims, and finally, has a track record of actually delivering on those quality control practices. So enough time has passed that we can see that they are doing what they claim to be doing. Second, we want to see adequate EPA and DHA content that matches our health goals. If those two things are in place, good quality, adequate EPA and DHA, we are not picky about the source of omega-3s, and we're not aware of any research that says it makes a dramatic difference which source you choose. We do need to address another controversial point, and that is plant sources of omega-3s. So flax, chia, walnuts can be a food source as well. It's important to note that these sources do not contain EPA and DHA. So while they do technically supply omega-3s, they do so in a way that requires our body to chemically convert the type of omega-3s they provide into EPA and DHA. And not everybody converts very well. In fact, most people have extremely low conversion rates, below 10%. This is why most experts on the subject, and we will echo their opinions, recommend EPA and DHA be found in your omega-3 supplement because that's ultimately what our body requires. So why would we put extra hurdles between getting what our body needs when we're going out of our way to supplement already? Now, for a while, part of that was due to those wanting to avoid animal products or fish specifically. Now, algae-based supplements are available on the market, which can supply EPA and DHA, and those products are an excellent choice in our opinion if you're wanting to avoid fish or other animal sources. One word of caution there, not all algae products provide EPA. Some of them are just DHA, and we do prefer to see both. So watch out for that and make sure your product is supplying both. Well, that does it for this video. We hope you found this helpful. We were excited to share some of these common questions we receive in our store. Remember that healthwaynutritioncenter.com is an excellent resource for all your omega-3 supplements, as well as supplements in general. We're a small family business based out of Oregon. We're passionate about what we do, and we're always standing by to answer your questions. Thank you for watching. Check out healthwaynutritioncenter.com, and we'll look forward to catching you on the next video.